You're listening to the Smart Agency Masterclass, and I am your host, Jason Swenk, where we believe that having the right systems in place is the difference between you struggling and growing your agency faster and easier. And if you would like to work directly with me, where I can show you the resources and the strategies that are working for other agencies just like you, I want you to go to agency.university. That's agency.university and request an invite, because this could be the difference between you struggling and growing faster. It could be the thing that will make a difference for where you're at now in order to really accelerate your growth. Now, on today's show, I have an amazing guest who is going to talk about meetups. It's a very easy strategy, but it yielded him over 6 figures from just doing a meetup strategy that you got to check out. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy, and you can do it, especially for the ones that keep complaining about, hey, I'm not building enough awareness, I'm not generating enough leads. And for those people that are bigger agencies, it actually led to a Fortune 500 client. So you have to definitely check it out. Well, tell us, for the people that don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
So, hey guys, my name is Ali Salman. I'm one of the partners in the agency. We serve predominantly Western Canada. We work with professional service providers like lawyers, dentists, accountants. And our tagline is, we make your phone ring. We are not a creative guys. Don't call us for your logos. We don't do banners. We suck at graphic design or anything creative, but we'll make your phone ring. We are internet marketers, and that's what basically helped us grow. Predominantly, our client base is in Western Canada, and professional service providers, mostly retainer-based work, month after month, right? And that's what we have been building up.
Very cool. Well, tell us the results that you got from doing this, and then we'll get into how an agency can actually use this strategy.
So our average retainer is pretty small, like comparing to some of the guys listening, or maybe a little bit bigger. So average retainer goes from $2,000 to $4,000. A dentist, average law firm, right? Okay, doing anywhere from 1.5 to 5 to $7 million. That's our sweet spot. Okay, and we pretty much become their go-to marketing department. So let them do their dentist work or let them do their files and give us that. Results have been impressive, Jason. We have been growing. We crossed $2 million mark. I haven't ran an agency. I didn't know shit about online marketing. I'm a business guy. I understand sales. And that's how we look at agency side. We see fulfillment side very differently. We can find the best people out there because human capital is not the problem for us. It's about growing the sales. And it's all about so results have been good. Every month we average on bring on anywhere from 3 to 5 clients, and with $2,000 to $4,000 retainer.
Very cool. And tell us a little bit about the results that you got from doing the meetup, because when I read your blog post, and we'll link to it in the show notes, but you generated a lot of revenue from doing a meetup strategy. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I think I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier that you said don't ask your clients to get married right away, right? So when I launched my online marketing company, right, and I was learning, I found out that there's no way that I'll walk to someone and they're going to give me a $30,000 retainer. I mean, who the hell Ali is, right? Okay. Then what I figured that, okay, well, Meetup had this huge audience, and I started going to different people's meetups before, and I said, okay, well, it's $60, right? And I can create a bunch of meetups, and it's like free email list generation. I don't have to write those lengthy blog posts. I don't have to do all that inbound stuff. I can get people coming to meetups, joining themselves. And I started with one, and it was the city I'm based out of, Edmonton in Alberta. And Edmonton Internet Marketing was the meetup, and then I started one in Calgary. And I got these ideas because, okay, then how can I get more and more? So I started creating more and more meetup groups. What I found, Jason, was amazing thing was that I actually learned how to speak at those meetups. The first event I did, I sucked at it, right? I'm sure people looked at that too. But now it became my whole one of the good lead generation strategies, because 30 to 40 people come on average to an event. Okay. And I know that out of 2 to 5 of them are very curious about moving forward. Now, maybe they are not ready to make a $2,000 commitment, right? So that's where I actually brought in a $500 consultation too. Say, hey, you know what? I'll sit down with you, $200, because I knew that they're not ready for $2,000 transaction, right? But I found a plastic surgeon on a meetup. I mean, that was odd. He just showed up to a meetup and he said, Ali, you know what? This girl is managing my social media. She doesn't know how to do it. Can you look at it? And slowly we kind of took over all his inbound. So yeah, that has been like, the process from the start, that kind of understand that, okay, they weren't going to get married to you right away. Once they start seeing you, they start trusting you. And what I also did was I was using that leverage a lot. Like I took pictures. I asked them to promote me on social media, but I gave them a lot of value, right? So I kind of used that uh, to first of all build my speaking skills, but also eventually build a good lead generation strategy.
Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. So, did you have a market in mind for the meetup, and then kind of like, so what's kind of the first step for setting up like a meetup? Do you have to like,
Yeah.
does a naming
Hmm.
matter on a meetup?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, can you target people saying, hey, this is who this is for? What is it? Because I'll be honest, I've been to like one meetup, but I was like,
Yeah.
all my clients are outside of Atlanta. So I was like, I got to put on pants. I was like, I don't know if I want to do it, but it'll work for other people. So how does it all work?
So you have to understand that, like, what's the purpose of your meetup, right? Like, if you just want to bring people, you can have a mastermind style meetup in your city that, like, bring 20 business owner, let them do the talking, let them discuss the problems, and you come in as a savior. That's one idea. The second idea is like create a local meetup. You write blog posts. I mean, a lot of the agency owners, they're experts at what they do. They can provide a lot of value. So hold one event. The beauty is that, Jason, if you start a meetup locally in your city, what I found that maybe using, let's say, internet marketing, digital marketing is not the right idea. Use maybe like, business growth systems, right? Our business growth systems has the most members than the internet marketing meetup, and it
Mm-hmm.
attracts different people, right? So you are right that naming your meetup is a little bit tricky. Find out that what's working in your local city, right? But maybe like, there's already internet marketing meetup exist, right? So you can name your meetup something different, like lead generation meetup or small business marketing meetup or whatnot, and hold your first event. Always look at one thing that provides so much value in that event. Then people, like, when they're leaving, they're like, heck, like my head is loaded with the information, but and you know that there is no way they're going to go and do it. I mean, you have overloaded them. They're in love with that. And that's where you start building relationships with them, right? Yeah, slowly. So
Yeah.
first meetup, second meetup, you might not convert someone, but believe me, right? Like, your name start getting, like, getting out there, and through that I was able to get a paid speaking gigs.
Nice. Yeah, and a lot of times, like I look back at some of the first videos that I did, or the first podcast. Or actually, the videos were a lot worse. Like doing videos is pretty hard, and I remember, man, it was so bad. Like I was horrible. I look back at some of those videos, and I keep them up. Maybe I'll link to them, or Stacy will link to them in the show notes. But like you go through them, and you're going to start off horrible, kind of like you said. You started off horrible doing your meetup,
Yeah.
but they don't know it's horrible. You're just in your mind. It's horrible for you. It's kind of like doing a podcast and all that kind of different things. Like
Yeah.
you're always going to get better and better. The thing is to learn and adapt, and then be okay with, where you start, because where you start is obviously not where you finish. Now, so now we come up with like a title of the
Mhm.
group.
Mhm.
How do you promote it?
Okay.
Like, do
So
people just find it, or how does that work?
see, that's the beauty, right? In my blog post, and that's what you were mentioning about, I spend $0 on advertising, Jason. Meetup has, like, it's one of the most visited websites everywhere. So what I used to do was, like, I used to create an event on the Meetup. So Meetup has its own audience, huge audience. Okay. Then I used to put that on Eventbrite, which is also free. So Eventbrite has its own audience, right? So you used to get like anywhere from 10 to 15 bookings from Eventbrite and Meetup on the top. So 40 to 45 people used to book, and then 30 used to show up on average, literally with zero marketing. But also, what it did really well for us, that all those people, now in total I have around 4,000 people on my Meetup. They're technically my email list, because I have them direct access through Meetup. And what I found that Meetup open rates are often more than your email
So what
list
are like
open
the open
rates.
rates on like a meetup?
See, this is the tricky thing. They don't share that with you.
Okay.
But how I found out is like I always ask them, hey, these are the resources. Give me some feedback, or like I try to insert some call to actions, and that's how I find out that how many people are clicking on that call to action. Or I mean, so through my regular email list, I found that I'm getting more open rates to the meetup because they probably have a better deliverability, right, and
Yeah.
CTR, right? Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and
That's
that's how. So you basically create a meetup, start like do your first event, and as you just nailed it, that your first podcast, and look at John Lee Dumas's first few episodes, Art of Charm's first few episodes. Go and listen to them. They suck. They all suck, right? So
sorry,
it's
John.
okay. Yeah, it's okay, right? But dedicating to a medium is that's what like makes you an expert at that, right?
Hmm.
And helps you gain momentum slowly.
That's awesome that you're using that. So you can blast out people. So when they sign up for your meetup, it will send them reminders saying, "Hey,
Exactly.
tomorrow you're going to have like." Can you set the reminders, or does it automatically for you?
It has a couple of options in the meetup.com, but it already sends them the reminders, right? And the second thing is that you're basically building a relationship on someone else's platform. Does Facebook brings you targeted people? Well, maybe in your groups, but Meetup literally you're telling people, hey, you know what? We are gathering to talk about, let's say, fitness today. People who are interested in fitness, that's who they're joining. So you're already vetting people out who are not interested in what you're talking about.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. Like, and I love that you're using Eventbrite too. And these are free, guys, I presume. And then how long are you usually doing the meetups? Like, do you have to present, or could you just have a
Yeah,
meetup and then you just meet
yeah,
everybody, or
yeah.
what are the options there?
So great question. How I found it is like I found a little bit of the Gary Vaynerchuk style, that when I was doing meetups and I was just focusing on sales, and in our agency fulfillment operations, I don't touch that at all. I don't know how they're getting fulfilled. My whole so focus was to pretty much build that brand in the front, get out there, right? So most of the event are done by me because it's one-on-one relationship building through people. So that was but if you're not comfortable doing yourself all day, when you can invite guests. There are maybe a sales expert in your city who love to talk about like sales conversion, right? Okay, there may be business process guy in your city. Invite him for the business processes. But you don't need to speak at your event, and I'm actually, Jason, looking at that at a multiple speakers now. I'm trying to engage with them. And another tactic I'll tell you, that let's say in your city there's a guy who's running a meetup at 5,000 people. Tell them you want to collaborate with him. You email it to 20 guys, three get back to you, and all of a sudden now you have access to 5,000, 3,000 more people.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So it's
Yeah. And then what's the follow up strategy? Like, can you blast out your list after they like? So at a show like who attended, I presume,
mhm.
is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then can you do like, hey, I loved meeting with you. What's your biggest challenge? Can you do that?
So so what I found when I started doing it, that they were not ready to buy services from us.
Hmm.
They're like, who the hell are you, Ali? I get it. You're probably an expert. You're trying to figure it out, but I don't trust you yet. So what I said, hey, you know what? I'm offering 2-hour consultations. If you come to my meetup and if you contact me over the next week, I'll sit down with you. I'll buy you lunch and a coffee because I want to help. I want you to be successful. So what happened? Few people did took those free consultations, and who didn't wanted to pay me. I said, hey, at least do me a favor. Go on Google and leave me a damn good review because you are not paying me. So I've added a lot of value there. So I got something out from them. But some people were willing to pay and say, so I got one coaching kind of a client. I see them once a month for 450 bucks. I just go there, look at their data, look at the analysis for them, some translate that, and they came through Meetup, right?
Mm.
So sometimes you can, like, especially if you, for some of the agency owners who want to do some consulting side too, Meetup is a good way to do some consulting gigs too, rather than just providing services to. Because a lot of people who come to Meetup, they might not be able to want to spend 2,000, 3,000, $4,000 with you right now. And the second thing which you can do for the follow up is, like what you can tell people is after the meetup, this is the cheat sheet. So after every meetup, I tend to give them some sort of a like thing which they can work on, cheat sheet, or like 7 steps to do this, 5 steps to do this. Now that can be very basic for us, right, for agency guys. But imagine like an average Joe who haven't dabbled into like conversion rate optimization. He's so happy to get like 5 or 10 basic points about that, right? That's how slowly I started building relationships, right? And it's so funny because which you said, like I end up getting speaking gigs through that, because they found me out. Okay, this guy's running, he's expert at that, right? So it was more like a snowball effect. Slowly, I got invited to another local business organization, to a chamber basically, to speak on like internet marketing. Now that's all free exposure because they see that I'm running these events.
Well, the cool thing is you're creating your own stage, right?
Yeah.
So many agencies, and I always tell them, like, one of the main jobs as being a CEO or one of the owners within the agency is to be the front face. There needs to be a face to the brand. And for the ones that do want to be the face, you need to get out there. And the easiest way to kind of establish trust is get on stages. And if you can't get on other people's stages, create your own. And that's what you did, which is so brilliant, right? And then you're providing value. That the cool thing that you realize is you're not pitching marriage right off the bat. Like we've all had, I always joke around with people saying, if you go to a networking event and this dude comes up to you and just starts talking about how cool he is, and you're like, how the hell do I get away from this fucker and go somewhere else? And so you got to kind of think about it that way. And the cool thing is you're just building that relationship and you're building that brand locally, right? And then you could start doing as you're traveling, and this would be probably a good write-off, like, say, hey, I'm going to go to Denver and run a meetup there. And then you can, travel all around building relationships. And just have your own little tour. Or this is another good strategy for your salespeople. So when I saw your blog, Ali, I was like, that's brilliant. I got to have this guy on the show. And then I just hired Jan, be one of our directors of business development. And I said, you're doing this. I was like, I'm not going to be out there, but you're going to you're going to get out there. You're going to meet with them, provide value, build the relationship in Atlanta. And then we can, start doing that over and over. So great strategy. Anything that I did not ask you or we didn't cover that would help out the audience?
So there's 2 things I want to cover. So who is actually doing it at the massive level, not using meetups, but using local events, there's a group called out of Australia. They call Basic Bananas. Go and check them out.
What is that name? Basic Bananas?
Basic Bananas. So
Dude, that's a crazy ass name.
Go and check them out. So what they do, they were actually on Digital Marketers podcast too, for the Facebook one. What they do, they just fill out local events. That's all they travel around the world. They fill out local events and then they sell them to masterminds of $5,000 to $15,000 for marketing. So do it yourself marketing. So if you think about agencies, we are so adamant about selling our services, but we take a step back. Guys, there's a huge consulting and do it yourself market out there, which you can also serve in the small business segment. That's what they're doing. So a lot of your listeners can check that out. Last thing I would say, which will blow your mind, is so we just signed.
I'm ready.
We just signed Fortune 500 client. Okay. And how did we found? So it's an HR recruiting firm. The guy, he came to my meetup. He said, hey, Ali, you know what? I want you to meet my operations manager because they are looking for inbound. For a whole year, they couldn't figure it out how to do it, hire internally or externally. I met with them. I basically just had a very good 1-hour conversation with them. That led to 2 more meetings, and we just last week or 2 weeks ago we just signed them. Right? So now, if you look at that, of course, the first person who came to our meetup wasn't a decision maker, but he was like way down the ladder. But he knew that his company or his decision maker is actually looking for people who can help them in their digital side.
Yeah, the cool thing is because there's a lot of people that are listening to the show or watching the show, however you guys are digesting it, and you think, well, I'm going after the bigger brands, Jason. This strategy won't work. Well, even if you're going after the bigger brands, I want you guys to realize they're still people. And if you can help people out, and if you're specific on who the meetup is for or who your marketing's for, and it provides value, you can reach them. I mean, even if you're going after the biggest ones, you still could do that. And you just got to think they're people. They're not a brand. They're not a logo. And neither are you. So you need to show your personality. You need to be, authentic. Don't have to mirror someone else. We all struggled with that when we first started, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know when I look back at some of my videos, I was like, I love Gary Vee style. Let me just do that. And then I was like, that's kind of not me. So I need to kind of do something, do it Swenk style. So
it's Swenk style. Yeah.
There you go.
And like all of us have our own style. And secondly, what you just mentioned, Jason, remember, so big companies owner doesn't make a decision, right? So you have a marketing coordinator, marketing director. If you provide local amazing events, they'll show up to that. I can bet you they will, because they're very curious. They're also trying to figure it out, because they have the huge budgets and they want to learn new strategies. So beside attracting small businesses, you do attract those corporate people who are just curious about how they can help their companies, because they might be marketing coordinator, marketing admin, marketing director position.
Yeah. Now, in closing, how much in the blog post you did, I think you said you added like 80,000 in revenue from this in a short time?
So basically, the direct before our Fortune 500 contract, that's around $120,000. We just signed it. If we do a good job by October, they will take us Canada wide. Then we are just doing it in Western Canada for them right now, and they said that they have an annual conference in Chicago, and they'll take our case study and put it for their whole global, because all the franchisees are coming from global conference in Chicago. But for small businesses, we generate $165,000 in revenue.
Bravo, man. That's awesome. That's killer. All right, guys, if you don't do this strategy and you're complaining to me, Jason, I'm struggling with leads and I don't want to pay anything. All right, we got a strategy for you. You don't have to pay anything, right? You just have to do it. You have to show up. You have to be good and be good at what you do. So thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. And last tactic, right? So when you do an event, what I do is I do the same event in multiple cities. So I create one presentation. I can travel with the same presentation. I create a podcast out of it. I create a blog out of it. I create a video out of it. So there you go. Less work. Don't spend any money. So Jason, I think they should be doing this, right? So
well, I'm starting to do it. What are you talking about?
So that's awesome. I think hopefully it added value to your audience, right? And hopefully they're going to apply in their agencies or whatever business they're doing, basically, right? Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Ali. And for all of you guys, if you guys want to grow your agency 3 times faster and you want to get the support and resources you need and the mentorship you need, I just opened up Agency University. It's a mentorship. It's the resources you need in order to grow faster. So if you kind of look back a couple years from now and you're like, man, I wish I knew what I knew now. Well, think about if you could get the mentorship directly from me and other amazing agency owners. So make sure you guys check out agency.university. I'm really happy with that name. Agency.university. Go check it out now and request an invite.